Hey, what's up guys? Little man with a big opinion here. And in today's video, I'm going to show all of the equipment and tools that I take with me when doing my bushcraft camping. Um, the list is ever growing as I replace cheaper tools with more efficient and more costly items, or depending on what I'm working on at the bushcraft camp. So in today's video, if you see something you like, feel free to comment and I can point you in the right direction when it comes to purchasing this item yourself. Or if you have a friend or family member that would benefit from what I'm talking about in today's video, then feel free to share the video with them as well. So the first item that I use is just a small Daypack. It's by Tactical Performance. It's the generic backpack that you pick up at Academy. This one came with a bladder that goes in the rear of it, and you can feed the bladder up through the top. I already had another Camelback that I'd sometimes use, so I just took that out, because with the size of this pack, if you completely fill the bladder up, there's not much space in it. If I was going for a longer camp out, I have bigger packs, but for most of what I do with a 1 to 2 night stay, or generally while it's still hot, I just go out for the day and come sleep in my bed at night. This pack carries everything I need, and the two exceptions to that is the axe and the firearm that I use. Everything else I can secure to the outside or stick inside the pack. A lot of what you do with bushcrafting is using methods that were used several hundred years ago. Most of it is without electricity, without modern amenities. So the gun that I tend to take with me most of the time is my model 1894 30-30 lever action. So it would be very difficult for me to tell you where to pick one of these up, because this one was manufactured in 1914, so I couldn't tell you specifically where to pick this up. And its sole purpose is, I live in Texas. We have a wild and abundant hog population, and it's purely for my protection. Also, most of the camping that I do is by myself, so it's just a additional level of protection. Even though I'm out in the middle of, nowhere, with the closest person being several miles away, you never know based on your situation, and I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I bring my lever action. You can substitute it for any firearm that you would like to. It's completely up to you in those regards. One of the next most important tools is a hatchet. Most of what I've done out there has involved a hatchet. I also use a 3/4 axe that I just didn't bring because it's this but bigger. I specifically use a 3/4 axe because I'm a shorter person with a smaller stature. So using a full-size axe, the 3/4 axe is basically a full-size axe for someone that is as short and small as me. But the hatchet is used for peeling bark, cutting down small spars, and when I say small, basically if the thickness of the tree is as thick as the head of this axe, then the hatchet is an appropriate tool to use. Moving on, the next big cutting device that I use is, I just picked up this Fisker's bow saw from Lowe's. I think it was $15 or $20, and it makes quick work of the trees out there. This is for anything that is much bigger than what the hatchet can handle, and sometimes even the axe. And of course, when I want to take the guard off, it doesn't want to come off. But anyway, it's got a nice tooth structure to it. This is one of those items that I would like to replace with either a silky saw or some variant of the silky saw. I know those are fairly commonly used on other bushcraft channels, and they're expensive because they get the job done and they're extremely efficient. The next item I have is just my Whoopi. It's basically a blanket. You can substitute this with a wool blanket, a quilt, a sleeping bag. When it's really hot out the way it is right now, I tend to just use a regular sheet, and it only helps protect me from the bugs because it's in the mid to high 70s at night, and I'm not trying to sweat all the way through the night. As it gets closer to the fall, this will get used more often, and then a sleeping bag will be used into the winter months. As where I live now, we have roughly 3 months of winter with lows in the 30s and 40s and highs in the 50s and sometimes low 60s, with occasional days of it getting into the 20s and teens. Sometimes it might snow, sometimes it might, but Texas tends to have mild winters, and so I'm not needing something that's a 0-degree rated sleeping bag, or sub-zero or below freezing most of the time. For other tools that I have, I'll go ahead and explain this one. I picked this up at a booth. It's made by Beavercraft, and it's just 3 tools for wood carving projects. This one specifically for bowls and cups. This gouge is for removing a lot of wood, and basically it's just another tool for doing bowls and stuff like that. And then this is just a fairly sharp knife that you keep razor sharp. I use my belt more often than not to keep the edge on that nice and sharp. I used it to just make this little wooden knife that I use to eat peanut butter to help keep my calories up and get some protein. So it's gotten some purposes so far. Next, this is a first aid kit I got forever ago through the Boy Scouts, and there's probably nothing inside of here from the original kit. As I use items, I replace items, and it's got these individual zippers. I keep gauze and big band-aids in one, ice compression pack, ointments and pills, and you can just kind of set it up your own way. There's not, a right or wrong answer to a first aid kit. If you just picked up a basic one from Walmart for $15 to $20, it would cover most of the things you need, and just kind of adjust it and add items as you use stuff, or you get into situations where that item will probably be used. The next item on my list is clothing and footwear. I just wear these Merrell hiking shoes, extremely durable, and it's just my preferred footwear. Excellent traction. I've put almost 100 miles into these, and I haven't had any issues with them. If you prefer hiking boots or tennis shoes or cowboy boots, combat boots, just whatever your preference is, everyone's feet are different. Just know, you know, after you figure out your situation, whether it's wearing extra socks, you have to powder your feet excessively, you have to change your socks more often, you keep moleskin because you've broken in a pair of shoes that have a few 100 miles in them, but you still get blisters. Just whatever method works for you, that's what you should use. I'm wearing a pair of canvas pants now, or I tend to, I thought I had them sitting right here. So I either wear canvas pants or some sort of breathable pants or shorts, just whatever you're more comfortable with. If you have stickers or thick brush, maybe you should wear pants. Same thing when it comes to shirts. In the temperature right now, I tend to just wear a regular t-shirt. As it gets colder, I add long sleeve or thermal. And then for wet and rainy conditions, I just wear frog togs or a poncho, or I stay under the shelter and just do, camp maintenance in a dry environment that way. Next thing is some sort of water storage. I mentioned with that pack that you can also have a camelback on it. You can have a standalone camelback. I've got my canteen and canteen cup, which is metal, and I typically use the cup for coffees, or sometimes I'll do a one-pot meal inside of it, but completely up to you. I tend to bring a canteen. I use this for water, and I tend to bring some sort of throwaway plastic jug or plastic water bottle if I want to put in a protein powder, Gatorade mix, Kool-Aid, anything like that. But having a way to store water, so your two situations is you either bring in all the water you're going to consume, or there's a water source at your bug out location and you're going to use iodine tablets or some sort of filtration, whether it's a homemade one with charcoal, pebbles, and sand, or you're using a life straw, or a Sawyer Mini, or you're boiling your water and running it through some sort of cloth. Whatever works for you, that's your own situation. Since I'm mostly doing day camping or single night campouts for right now, I tend to just hike in with my water source. This is some of the rope that I purchased the other day. It's a 124 pound safe working load. I also use paracord and different twines and bale rope like that. Most of the rope is used for lashings on the structure, or if you saw my first bushcraft video where I made a bed, I used a thicker rope. I think its poundage was like 180 pounds or 240, something along those lines. But for the most part, the rope is used for building the structures. I think I'm going to suspend the bed almost like a hammock, and that's what this rope is for. Alright, down to our last two things. When it comes to food, we've only shot and ate one hog while we were out there. It didn't taste very good. We've shot dove and eaten them out there. They were a little bit better. But for the most part, we bring our food out there. The easy food methods are MREs and Mountain House meals. MREs are a little bit more easy. Most of them are 2 to 3,000 calories, and they're a great meal option. For a little bit better food, we bring Mountain House meals, or we bring one pot meals that can just go in one pot. So we'll bring, we typically make stews or soups, pasta sometimes, spaghetti, mostly meals that you can throw all the ingredients in one pot, and they can be cooked up that way and dished out to everyone. So tied in with the food is a pot, mostly for the Mountain House meals or when we're cooking other foods out there. And then the last item I have on my list is a light source. So my two options at the moment, one sticking to the, bushcraft theme, is I bring my lantern out there. For my single night campouts, I just fill up the fuel container that's on it, make sure the wick has, at least a few inches on it, and I tend to be good to go. But I do bring a light source. I could technically use my phone as a light source, but I also bring some sort of flashlight, or my preferred is a headlamp. I specifically like this headlamp because it's got a single light setting. The big thing I like about it is the red light setting. It has a much brighter, and so it's got 3 settings. This light also, I believe it takes AAA's, but you don't have to charge this one. Some of the other Black Diamond headlamps can be charged, and having some sort of battery bank or little solar backpacking kit would be nice. But for now, I bring this, and I tend to bring one extra set of batteries for the headlamp. And then everything else after that is purely for, my pleasure. I tend to bring out my corncob pipe, and a friend of mine that lives in Wisconsin sends me pipe tobacco from a company that's been around for over 100 years. So I tend to bring pipe tobacco out. When I do have friends go out, we do, treat it like a mini vacation. We'll bring different liquors. We're not out there partying, but we do like to enjoy ourselves when we go camping. And that's partially what the luxury items, the pipe tobacco, and, the liquors are for. But hopefully you found this video informative. If you've thought about getting into bushcrafting, or maybe you've gone camping a couple times and you want to take it up a notch, then this is a great beginner's list to getting supplies needed to go out and do this kind of thing. Like I said, I would like to get this bow saw replaced with something a little bit better. But for now, it does its job, and I think it's worth every penny. Stuff like this, maybe I wouldn't consider a high priority. You can do a lot of things without these wood carving tools. It just helps me out. But other than that, if you have any other tools that you use when you do bushcrafting or camping, then leave them in the comment section down below. And again, if you have a friend or family member that benefit from the information from this video, then share it with them. And I'll catch you in the next one.